Another FTS test on S26.1, Raptor installation stand in the Mega Bay, Star Factory, and last-minute deluge construction. Oh, and there's a full stack now. We'll talk about that and more today in episode 16 of our Starbase Flyover update brought to you by RGV Aerial Photography. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Starbase Flyover update. My name is Mauricio, and today we'll be doing a flyover over Starbase, Texas. Hope you enjoy this flight. For reference, here's a map layout of the areas of interest at Massey's test site. Shout out to Procky for creating these maps for each of the 4 sites. Starting off our tour Massey's, here's a picture of the flyover of Wednesday, August 30th. Now sliding over to the picture from Thursday, September 7th to compare the changes. Starting off our tour with a look at the ship crowd station. We notice a trench has been dug next to it this week, but don't know its purpose yet. Shifting slightly to the right, the new pad we saw poured last week has had a tent placed there, along with some shelving. This location will be the new home of the miscellaneous staging area. Now that the tent has been moved from this area, it'll be interesting to see what it will be used for next. Moving down and to the left to the hot staging test article, we see that it's now been removed from the can crusher following its testing campaign, which saw at least 2 tests mimicking thrust loads on the hot staging ring. With S26.1's aft skirts removed and the hot staging article placed on the transport stand, we can expect this to be rolled back to the build site in the next week or so. Also, there has been some work on the nose cone gel in preparation for the upcoming payload bay testing. Moving up, we can see that the concrete pad being prepared last week has since been poured, and a tent in the beginning stages of construction. Let us know what you think this is for. Also, another tent has been removed from this location nearby. Now we move to the Massey's tank farm, where cryogenic liquid nitrogen and oxygen for fueling ships and boosters is stored. After we saw these 2 additional horizontal cryogenic tanks installed last month, yet another vertical storage tank has been installed, as a possible upgrade to the small spherical tank that it replaced. At the top of Massey's, we see that S26.1 has been taken off its stand and placed on the burst pad. Looking closer, we see a singular flex hose connected to it, which is what we saw right before B6 was destroyed in the FTS recertification test back in May. Combined with its new location near the burst pad, could this mean that the aft skirt test article S26.1 will also be tested with the new FTS, or Flight Termination System? After all, the FAA identified the delay between the FTS activation and the actual destruction of Booster 7 and Ship 24 to be one of the major causes of concern, although we'll go more in detail about that later. Last but not least, we see groundwork being done on the other end of Massey's nearest to Highway 4. We'll keep tracking this and let you know what becomes of this area. Now we arrive at the Sanchez site, which is primary location for inventory and non-vehicle related fabrication. The areas of interest are pointed out in this map. Before getting started at Sanchez, here's a picture from the flyover we performed Wednesday on August 30th. Now sliding over to his picture from Thursday, September 7th to compare the changes. We can finally see some signs of progress towards closing in on the ground fabrication building this week. If we look inside, we can see what appears to be insulation material for interior walls. No signs of actual external panels going on yet though. Over in the stand construction area, we see crews were able to complete the primary ring structure on the second white stand after the first one was relocated to the inside of Mega Bay 1. We don't see immediate evidence of a third stand on this type being constructed yet, but there are parts available. If we look back over towards the ground fabrication building, we can see 10 legs. These are most likely for mounting the second white stand currently under construction. All 10 are used for supporting the stand, but the 5 highlighted here are suspected to also raise and lower the platform that is inside of the structure. We'll get a better look at the whole setup over at the build site, so stay tuned. We can see an additional 5 legs further up, which were present last week as well. These may be part of the 10 more required to support a third stand. Meanwhile, work on the second black stand continues, with all the base ring sections now connected. The first stand has received a fresh coat of paint since our last flyover. We're still not sure what the purpose these stands will serve, whether it's booster maintenance related or something else entirely. Hopefully once the first stand is relocated, we'll have a better idea of SpaceX's intentions with them. There appears to be plenty of parts still lying around to construct a third stand of this type as well. We can also see the old manifold from under the deluge tanks here. If we move up near the air separation plant, we can see crews are preparing to pour a concrete pad, It's hard to tell what will go here as of right now, but there is no shortage of options when you take a look at the surrounding chaos. Looking over at the engine installation stand where Ship 28 remains, we can see lots of scaffolding remains for access to the insides of the ship. We can also see there are still plenty of tiles needed around the weld seams for the barrel sections. Check out this ground shot I captured on the 6 standing next to Ship 28. This gives a good idea of just how much tile work remains. It appears a cowbell style vent diverter has been added near the header tanks. This is a new addition to Ship 28 and newer, with the first being seen on Ship 30 inside of High Bay. Rounding out Sanchez in the rocket garden, we can see there are a few vacancies now over on the ship side. It seems security has allowed Ship 25 and 26 to escape. No worries though, they haven't gone too far, but were relocated to the launch site this week. The long-awaited rollout of S-25 took place on late September 4th and into September 5th, and S-26 rolled out during the flyover on the 7th. In an interesting turn of events, S-20 received tile work the evening of the 7th as well as wait, S-20? That's right, a member of the infamous Booster 4 and Ship 20 combo that never flew started receiving work again. Surely the tile work was actually just preparation for reattaching the lifting hooks to get ready for scrapping, right? Well, no. On the morning of September 8th, it was discovered via Lap-Hodges Rover 1 camera the lift hook locations had actually been tiled over. At this point, we're not sure what's going on anymore. Is S-20 to remain a permanent fixture in the rocket garden as a display piece? Or was this just a practice for the associated tile work for future ships? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Let's head on over to the build site before something else crazy happens, like Booster 4 starts undergoing engine replacement of all things. Next up is the ever-evolving build site where quite a bit of construction is ongoing, and I don't mean just ships and boosters. Before we check out the progress, here's a picture from the flyover that occurred Wednesday, August 30th, followed by a more current picture from Thursday, September 7th to compare the changes. We'll shake things up a bit and get started up at the new Mega Bay. Crews have been working quickly during the day shift to lift the trusses for the final level of the bay. The bridge crane beams are still waiting on the ground nearby, but we suspect they'll be lifted once the roof truss installation nears completion. Switching angles, we can see the pre-assembled staircase sections for the front corners of the interior are now installed, it appears. Zooming in, we can see these tucked behind the temporary corner braces, which will be removed once the building is structurally sound. We also have a better look at the freshly installed roof truss. Looking in from the east, we can see the stairs in the opposing corner. We can also see a work elevator constructed on this side of the building. Perhaps even more interesting from this angle is our view into Mega Bay 1. Taking a close look inside, we can see the white stand that was transported from Sanchez last week tucked in the left rear corner, mounted on the top legs we observed in the past photos. We can also see what appears to be the safety screen doors was spotted under construction at Sanchez last week. These surround the base of the stand and should protect workers both on and off the work platform, which we can also see mounted inside the stand. This isn't the only interesting item of discussion in Mega Bay 1 though. Looking just inside the left side of the main entryway, we can see what looks like a new vertical beam installed. Looking at an alternate angle from the south, we can see the same style of beam erected on the opposite side of the entryway. Is this what I think it is? Say it isn't so. Could this be the beginnings of a door to close in the booster assembly area? It certainly looks that way, especially with more of the same appearance steel waiting to be erected just outside. Ring watchers beware, the glory days of observing booster assembly may be numbered. Do you think this will happen to the other base? Let me know in the comment section down below. As far as what's going on with the vehicles currently inside Mega Bay 1, Booster 10 and 12 remain inside, plus the beginnings of Booster 13. The common dome of 13 was observed being stacked on top of the aft barrel section on September 5th, bringing the logs tank to 8 rings tall out of the 24 needed. Moving on to the high bay where Ship 29 and 30 continue to be worked on. We can see Ship 31's maiden nose cone and payload section on the welding table. Next in line for stacking is the forward dome, which rolled inside the bay overnight between the 6th and the 7th. If we zoom back out, we can see S-26 just leaving Sanchez on its way to the launch site. That was good timing. Moving back to our view from the south side of Highway 4, we can see groundwork is well underway in the previous locations of tents 1 and 2. Excavators are busy chiseling up concrete and any former utilities located here for what's anticipated to be more groundwork ahead of the foundations for the Star Factory expansion in this direction. What's going on with the Star Factory anyway? Starting towards Highway 4, we can see steel erection in the third section of the expansion site is nearing completion. Meanwhile, roof panel installation continues on the second section. Up in the first section, we can see the roof sections between the existing building and the expansion building appear fully connected now. We can see cutouts being cut into the roof in this location as well as towards the center of the expansion building. In the center, we can also see an HVAC unit actively being installed by the crane in one of the cutouts. If we look down at the side of the buildings where the existing and the expansion sites meet, we can see a pass-through doorway big enough for trucks to enter, possibly for future Star Factory rocket parts deliveries. The interior wall on the backside of the existing structure is still in place as to not disturb the work still in progress of the new vehicles. If we look at the structure from the north, we can see the pass-through continues out of this side of the building. Rounding out the build site, we'll see what's happening with the HLS nose cone over near the payload integration building at the far east end. It looks like crews have applied a fresh coat of white paint to the steel on this side of the mock-up. I got this ground shot on the 6th when crews had just started painting. Maybe this to make it look better for any VIPs that visit the site. Make sure you subscribe for up-to-date news and analysis, and like this video so that it can reach a larger audience. And that's a wrap for the build site. As always, we've saved the best for last, the launch site. Now on to the highly anticipated launch site. Before we start this tour, here is a picture from the flyover that occurred on Wednesday, August 30th. Now sliding over to the last one from Thursday, September 7th to compare the changes. Starting off on the suborbital test site, the perimeter fence gained more concrete. It is now roughly 4 meters or 13 feet tall and almost complete. Moving to the right is Test Stand B, which has had some upgrades to its plumbing and was under preparations to receive Ship 26 for testing. You can see that the SpaceX crane has lifted the ship lifting squid ahead of S-26 lift onto the pad. Next, we'll take a look at the Deluge tank farm where we notice that the pipe connecting the large water tanks was taken apart and removed ahead of the arrival of a new 3-way manifold, which has since been placed under the tanks. The third large tank was moved on to its final resting place with the LR-11000 crane in the early hours of Saturday morning. A new smaller high-pressure manifold for the top of the third tank arrived and is getting prepared for installation as well. Moving to the left, concrete work is well underway on the new slab. We can see that 4 concrete trucks were waiting to offload during our flyover. Now let's take a look at the orbital launch site. The most noticeable change here is that Ship 25 is now stacked on top of Booster 9. Rollout occurred during the overnight hours between September 4th and the 5th, with stacking taking place in the afternoon on the 5th. Look at this time-lapse captured by RGV Cam. This is the first full stack since the IFT-1 launch on April 20th. It's incredible how fast SpaceX worked to reach this point again. Look at how everything changed before and after IFT-1. Damage was so extensive that many people thought we weren't going to see a launch this year. Now less than 5 months after the flight, here's how the pad is looking. Not only does it look even better than IFT-1, but it also has many new robustness upgrades, including significant concrete work and a water-cooled steel film deflector. IFT-2 is just weeks or even days away now. We will soon see how all the new systems work to prevent a repeat outcome of OFT-1. Looking below the OLM, we caught sight of the water deluge steel plate for the first time. It is usually covered over to prevent dirt and foreign objects getting in and flying away when the system activates. Also, we can see that all the holes that were cut on the fondant layer have been re-poured and are dry. It is amazing the pace of how they are working to have everything ready for the next launch. Speaking on the next launch, the FAA released on September 8th some news about the current status of the approval for SpaceX. They said that they closed the mishap investigation report for IFT-1 incident, and they also revealed that there are 63 corrective actions SpaceX must take prior to approval of the new launch license. On September 10th, Elon posted to X confirming that SpaceX has indeed completed the 57 items required for the next launch, the other 6 referring to changes for future flights, meaning that the launch license for IFT-2 could be just around the corner. Lastly, during the flyover, Ship 26 was rolled out to the pad ahead of its spin prime and static fire campaign. Could it be that this ship will be paired with Booster 10 for IFT-3? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. That's it for Starbase Flyover Update. Thank you for choosing to fly with RGV Aerial Photography. If you like what you saw today, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on the new videos each week. And also leave a thumbs up. Also, please consider supporting our flyovers through Patreon to gain access to our flyover gallery the same day it occurs, and it also helps pay for the expenses associated with the flight. Finally, join our public Discord server to discuss Starship and space in general with like-minded fans around the world. Link is in the description down below. This is Mauricio, and that's all for now.